Welcome to AVP, Asia's Voice of Pickleball. Today, I have a very special guest, Aaron Sheah, okay, founder of Courtsite. Many have heard of this platform, but right now we have the founder in the flesh. Many of our fans are very curious about the numbers. So today we'll get to deep dive into key numbers to get very, very good insight for business owners wanting on the sidelines, wondering whether they should jump in to this craze they call pickleball. Okay. So, Aaron, how did Courtsite come to life? Take us to the very beginning.
Yeah, so I think very great to be here, by the way. First time doing one of these things. So with Courtsite, I think it started off with a pain point where in high school, I used to play a lot of tennis. And back then in the early 2010s, it was quite difficult to book courts. It was very laborious in the sense of like you call a number, they might not pick up, but if they do pick up, you have to go through back and forth like, oh, is this slot available? How about Tuesday? How about the morning? How about the evening? And sometimes even just being able to spell out your name and sometimes language barriers of the other person on your side. It just seemed way too painful. So the pain point started there. And when a couple of friends from university came together with me thinking of like, why don't we build essentially Airbnb of sports, right? Make it as easy as just clicking a few buttons and you can get a court. And started off as a pet project, doing it on the side on my full-time role at in the UK. And fast forward 8 years later, here we are.
So it's been around 8 years. And what did the early prototype look like compared to now?
Imagine Airbnb, but maybe 20 times worse. So it was very, very simple. We started off, we scraped all the data we can in terms of all the badminton centers back then. It's the biggest sport in Malaysia. All the centers there, we tried to do it as a directory, and for centers that we have managed to like collaborate with, be able to collect bookings for them through that. So early days, it was like maybe 3 or 5 centers, very, very small. That was the early prototype.
Okay. And at which point did pickleball get on your radar as a big opportunity?
The first time I heard about pickleball, surprisingly, was actually Malaysia, not in the UK. One of our close partners in terms of sports facility, they ran a sort of taster session of pickleball. It's like, back in, I think maybe mid 2023, they're like, there's this new court, let's try it out in a badminton wooden floor. They just put some cones and stuff like that. But I think what I started to notice is probably early 2024 when you started to see quite big numbers coming in saying like, you guys are doing good badminton, but can you support pickleball? And our system was flexible enough to do that. But that was the first time where I started to notice like there's something here and it's growing at a rate that's quite scary actually.
Okay, you will definitely touch on that about the growth of pickleball here in Malaysia. But at the beginning, I want to know what were the biggest challenges or surprises when it came to onboarding courts and players onto the platform?
Yeah, I think like most people that start businesses, they start with the idea, you get so like passionate and infatuated with the idea. You think like, surely everybody wants this. Everybody wants to make it as easy as possible to book a court. I just want to play the sport. I don't want to be talking over the phone. And as we build out, we get more and more confident. And when we arrive in the market, we go to centers like, hey, don't you think it would be a great idea for your customers to have this experience? And most of them go like, my things are working fine. Like, why do I need you? And that sort of learning process of realizing that as a company that's trying to build products to delight people in the world of like sports facilities and bookings, it's important to capture the centers and not focus as much on the consumer side. So that shift is essentially something that's stuck to us to today, which is we need to focus on bringing value to the facilities, help them solve their problems. That sort of learning helped us shape our mission.
Okay. And what are the value and services that you highlight to your potential clients?
Yeah, I think the overarching theme is how do you make it as simple as possible to run a facility? Um, a few ways that we do this, whether that's from taking online bookings, like you don't need to set up any sort of payment gateway stuff, handle payments. There was a big FPX incident a month ago. Like all of that is handled by us. You don't
Yeah.
need to worry about that. All sort of regulations that come in, for example, e-invoicing, SST, like we make that as easy as possible for you. Other things like lighting automation, when the court booking starts, the light turns on. When it finishes, it turns off. Or even if you have back-to-back bookings, it turns off and on. And that's sort of like common etiquette now when the lights go like this.
Yeah, it's understanding. Because oftentimes you're too much into the game, you're hitting another point. But that like snaps you back to reality, like, oh yeah, our time's up.
Yeah, exactly. So all these things, you can look at it as a lens from the business owner point of view, the court owner's point of view, which is like, how can you make it easy for them? And that's where they will want to adopt the product that we have. Yeah.
Okay. And obviously, not all sports are created equal. How different has pickleball adoption been compared to other racket sports on Courtsite?
It's like I said, I use the word crazy and scary. Like, yeah, pickleball has grown at a very alarming rate, like relative to not just racket sports, but Courtsite, we have a bunch of different things from futsal, swimming, like all kinds of things that you can book on Courtsite. And obviously the rate it has grown has been quite insane for a number of reasons, I think. But yeah, it's almost like a perfect marriage of like the demand and supply and the rate at those things grow. Didn't mismatch too much where people get too frustrated that they can't play at all, and then they just lose interest. And also too much supply and there's not enough players. I think it's grown perfectly together. So we can deep dive even more, but
yes, definitely. In the next segment, we're gonna deep dive into market growth, business insights, and hard numbers. Okay, I'm sure you're ready. Hope you're ready for some hard questions.
Excited to share. I love talking about it.
Could you share the bigger vision of Courtsite? Is it purely bookings or is it a broader ecosystem for sports in Malaysia?
Yeah, I think for us, the main mission is trying to make it as easy to run a facility, right? All our products and services should allow center owners to not focus so much on the operations, and they can focus on their USP, their unique selling proposition, right? Whether that's you're more on the marketing side, maybe on the merchandising side, maybe on the F&B side, right? These are the things that center owners can focus on rather than like, I need to pick up the call and talk to my customer. I need to turn on the lights and make sure everything's running smoothly. All that Courtsite wants to help with that.
Help with automation.
Yeah, exactly.
Taking that burden off the business owner, right?
Yeah, exactly. Imagine if you had 1,000 customers each month asking for e-invoice and you're there in your accounting system trying to do it. This is all the stuff that we want to take off your hands. But in terms of the larger play, I think there's still so much more to do in that space, right? How can we make it easier and easier and easier? I think we've gotten to a point where it's quite good, where you could run a center with no manpower, right?
Okay.
We've got a couple of examples around.
So those centers also have like auto unlocking doors and
so
lighting?
Depends on the facility. So the first time we actually achieved this was quite a while ago. In 2019, there's a badminton center within LHDN building in Klang.
Okay.
Where there was a badminton courts that the owner wanted to let go because he couldn't make it work. It was too expensive. We took that over as a challenge, right? Could we make this work? And essentially we had zero manpower other than a security guard that was already stationed at the building and some part-time cleaners coming in to clean the facility. Other than that, zero manpower. And that took it from loss-making to, I don't want to say numbers, but yeah, doing very well.
Okay.
We've since let go of that. We want to focus purely on the products and services we have rather than running facilities. But yeah, we want to get to that level of effort, which is like almost no effort, essentially.
Okay. Effortless success.
Yes.
Okay. So in the next section, we do talk about more about numbers, but just one tidbit question is, could you share a moment or metric when you realized pickleball growth in Malaysia was very real and not just a passing fad?
Yeah, a couple of metrics that come to mind. I think one is probably still number of facilities. Like that's probably our North Star metric. How many businesses trust their operations with us?
Yeah. In fact, if I may jump in, at I believe it was KL Cup that there was a mention of it was
Open.
KL Open. It was a mention of 35,000 monthly bookings.
Yeah.
How's the numbers looking like now?
Yeah, quite good. So 35,000 was back in April this year. So 5 months ago.
5 months ago.
And today we hit a peak of 63,000 bookings.
When was that?
That was in August. September was slightly lower, 58,000. That's due to a few of public holidays landing on the weekend, which meant essentially taking 4 or 5 days, potentially up to 7 days worth of revenue there. So yeah, I think without those, we definitely would have breached the 63,000.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
At 63,000 now.
Yeah.
And soon is this going to be month-on-month records?
Yeah.
The way the growth chart is going?
Pretty much other than September, it's been month-on-month records. Yeah,
okay.
All the way. Yeah.
It's a significant jump because I think back in those days, April, when you guys are organizing and delivering KL Open, I think that Square Sam was sharing like 35,000. This is something that has really registered in the mind of market players already. 35,000, and then now you're coming close to doubling within 6 months.
Yeah.
6 short months. Yeah.
Yeah. Even compared to last year, like referring to April 2024, just a year before 35,000, we were around like 1,000 bookings per month. So to April 1 year later was 30x, to September this year, that's 60x. Yeah.
You can imagine that chart. It's just doubling and doubling.
It looks good.
This is very helpful.
It looks good.
I guess a lot of, thanks to the generosity of Courtsite and Aaron as well, Sam. I think these numbers are definitely benefiting the market players, especially when we spoke about it earlier. Went to full handbrake and went to actually
double down. And jump in.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting topic. I think it sometimes not even sort of a 1 or 0 thing, right? In the sense of like either go or don't go. I think it's also how you go is quite important, right?
Yeah.
We've also had experience from seeing a mature market like badminton or futsal going through that growth, and then now comparing that to pickleball. It's important to see the differences there and what are the different approaches, because we've seen so many facilities run very differently. We've seen fail, same successful. I think there's a lot of different nuances there as well.
Okay. Let's save that for the next question about what makes, in your opinion, a pickleball center successful and the numbers. Okay, we'll have a quick break here. Thanks, Aaron.
We have to thank My Pickleball, Malaysia's #1 pickleball store, for sponsoring our episode today. If pickleball is your game, this is your go-to store. Why? Because My Pickleball is the OG of all things pickleball in Malaysia. They offer the widest range of pickleball brands and gear in Malaysia, with over 400 demo paddles to try before you buy. Do you know that they even have an on-site court to test your shots and the friendliest expert staff who actually play the game to give you all the recommendations you need? Visit My Pickleball HQ at the Strand, Kota Damansara today, or one of their 3 other branches. Or shop online at www.mypickleball.my from the comfort of your home.
In the previous segment, Aaron here dropped the bombshell of everyone knew the number is 35,000 bookings per month, but in reality, it has reached a peak of, was it 63,000?
Yep.
All right. So what does demand and supply look like right now? Are we short of courts or are we approaching a saturation in hotspots in KL?
Yeah, so the way we look at it, there's like 2 parts of it, which is the demand side and the supply side. The demand side, you can look at hard numbers. You can look at real world experiences. I think we start with real world experiences. Every time you go to a court during peak hours, it's full from the start to the end, right? But from our side, our perspective, our analysis tells us that it's in a healthy spot, right? We have strong demand where courts are being utilized well. Like 63,000 is a good number for us to show that. On the supply side, we've seen tapering off a bit in terms of the growth, right? So imagine an S curve. We initially were very flat and it accelerated a lot, and then now it's a bit more flatter. I think this is good for the market. Obviously, we've also seen some closures as well. But I think we're going through sort of a market correction, not necessarily in like trying to drop to a healthy number of centers. I think we're at healthy levels. It's more of starting to differentiate between courts a bit more, and centers sort of really doubling down on their USP, right?
Yep.
Pickleball courts are not just pickleball courts. Whether it's more on like a country club style, maybe it's just no frills, like just play. Don't really care about like the amenities. Like you start to see more of these segments pop up and solidify. So I think that's sort of where the face of industry is at the moment, which is like centers really defining and like maintaining the identity of what a pickleball court for them is. Yeah.
Could you name those segments that you believe they're doing well in terms of numbers?
I actually think it really depends on what people look at as investors, right? I think some people obviously want the big number, right? And I think there's a different few ways you can do that. Some people don't really care about how big the number is. It's about like the best yield for that piece of land or asset. So you've seen centers that maybe have only a single court, and that's doing as well as a center with 4 or 5 courts. But you also have on the extreme end, you have like 20, 40 courts as well. Like you have massive centers. So yeah, there's a few different ways of going about it. I think the interesting ones actually, to me, are on the smaller end of things, like how people have repurposed places to become actually really good courts. Like people.
So I'm sure you have what a wide variety of courts, and your platform has made it so much easier for anyone with a space to consider converting it to a court.
Yeah.
Could you tell us some of the unique stories?
Yeah. A couple of unique ones, two come to mind. One is badminton center, so BAM actually, our own national facilities. They have a facility not too far from here in Damansara Heights, where there's their training facility where their coaches and their national players train. And at night, nothing really happens there. So what did they do? They came to us, they said like, oh, we're thinking of listing our courts, and we worked with them as a joint venture to like list their courts at night. So anyone today can play at the national facility. So we've got something on the bigger end of the scale. We've got stories on the smaller end of the scale, whether that's schools, whether that's a Chinese school with a day one that can be utilized during the night, right? Or the most unique story I heard is essentially a car mechanic workshop where the owner loves pickleball, and he decided to clear one of his warehouses full of parts and converted that into a court. All he needed to do was fix the ventilation, get the court surface done well, draw the lines, lighting, and that's it. And that court is doing really well.
Yeah. But it's just one court?
Yeah, just a single court.
Wow.
Yeah, air conditioned as well.
Nice. His unutilized space is now generating money at night. Plus, he gets to unwind with his passion.
Full lifetime worth of pickleball for free for him. Yeah.
Living the dream.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I think getting rich is not enough. If you get to do what you want when you want, play pickleball whenever, that's the real dream nowadays. Indirectly, I'm sure that's helping business. Like, you're already playing with maybe car owners, car clubs and all. Maybe it kind of lends business towards his other verticals.
And I think depending on your sort of space, like I think that's where you can kind of create the USPs, right? So in this story, from the owner's point of view, it's like, oh yeah, he can play all the time, but like from the consumer side, what would they get from that? Private coaching facility, right?
Yeah.
Or if every time you play again, not balls flying into your court, like no one's gonna fly into your court. It's only you there. So each center can has its own USP.
Its own USP. That's really great that you're offering a platform that everyone can shine. We want to know about the player demographics. Do you feel it's shifted? Are you seeing more youth or corporate groups or perhaps retirees driving demand?
Yeah, the way we like to compare it to is always against badminton, which is the other big sport in Malaysia. And I think that the interesting thing with pickleball is that it's actually strong growth in all age categories, right? Like the sport is very accessible. It's easy for people to pick up. So I think that's the major difference with badminton. But the interesting thing we notice as well is corporates are starting to get more into it. Whether that's on like collaborations for events, or to me, more interestingly, it's sort of offices where they decide to do training for their staff and like sort of team building events together. We even have pickleball training that is HRDF approved. You can claim back money from the government. So yeah, it's interesting to see adoption from the corporate side as well, which had some with badminton, but not at the level that pickleball has.
Okay. And between your different sports verticals, how's the numbers of pickleball looking compared?
Yeah, I probably need to pull out the exact numbers. Badminton is still in quite a healthy spot. I think the main differentiating factor is the growth of pickleball and how sustained it is. I think with badminton, for peak hours, the utilization is still not as strong as something like pickleball. Like pickleball is like close to 100% in peak hours. But obviously also in terms of revenue per square foot, like pickleball is definitely on the higher end in terms of returns as well. Definitely pickleball is on the higher end. Probably paddle will be closely competing with that. But obviously adoption for paddle is not as strong as pickleball. So as an aggregate like revenue, like pickleball is definitely quite far ahead compared to badminton.
Okay. And with rising court fees making headlines, do you see this as a healthy sign of demand or a potential barrier for growth?
Yeah, I think from our perspective, being in hundreds of facilities, the latest number is like almost 330 facilities, I think.
Okay, 330 facilities.
Yeah, so
that's just pickleball?
Pickleball is 190.
Okay, 190 is pickleball. Wow.
Yeah,
that's
so
a vast majority.
So yeah, like if we go back to like the metric that surprises me, or like the one that shows that pickleball is here to stay, is how it overtook badminton in terms of the supply.
When do you think, if you know, when did it overtake badminton?
It didn't take that long, honestly. I mean, we started seeing pickleball come up. The earliest ones would be 2023. I would say probably towards the end of 2024.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Rising court fees have made headlines. Do you see this as a healthy sign of demand or potential growth?
Yeah. So with our sort of overview, like we are in enough centers where we can get a good sort of analysis of the whole market. I think the rising fees is mostly like as a social media sort of not clickbait, but like easy to catch the attention.
Yeah,
It's so expensive
attention
now,
grabbing headline.
Like, court like this, like people are talking about how expensive it is.
Yeah.
The way I actually see it is that pickleball has so much growth and so much adoption that we are seeing the full sort of bell curve of an industry, right? Where you've got obviously your mass market, you have your low end, you have your high end. So obviously when you have your high end, you have your higher fees, and that's probably what catches attention. Like, wow, they're charging this much for a court. But I don't think it's across the board, right? I think because of how the market dynamics is at the moment, which is quite a healthy spot where not one is overpowering the other, that the court fees are at a good sustainable place,
Okay.
right? Where I think there's enough competition out there. The USP needs to be strong enough that customers can go elsewhere to play, and they will if like you mess with the pricing a bit too much. So I think
Okay.
the market dynamics is in a really healthy spot now where owners don't have to drop their fees too much or raise their fees too high. It is in a very balanced spot, in our opinion.
In your opinion? Okay. And so we have fans from all around Asia looking towards Malaysia, which seems to be a hotspot. So could you tell us with your data, why do you think Malaysia is having tremendous growth?
Yeah. I think it's a interesting question. I think it had to be a combination of different things. One is definitely the sport of pickleball itself, like how easy it is to play, how easy to pick it up, how easy it is to become a social event as well. Like instead of going to the mama to chill at night, now you come play pickleball with friends, right? So much healthier as well.
Yeah.
So I think the sport itself is already put it in a good spot to be adopted. I think, in our opinion, the other thing that's special to Malaysia, right, and you can compare to our neighbors or even far away overseas, the adoption here is quite unique at a rate that is quite crazy. And I think a big part of that is the SME culture that we have here, which is to start something like this is quite new as well, PXP. And yeah, you've got all kinds of places popping up. I think a lot of them also first-time business owners, right? People that love pickleball and just want to be
a lot of
involved.
passionate about pickleball and then want to take that step to become business owners.
Yes, exactly. And that, like, Malaysia gives a lot of opportunity to that. And like land is not necessarily abundant, but like there is a supply. And yeah,
I think the spending power of Malaysians also to support the economy is there.
Exactly. From the demand side as well, people being able to afford playing pickleball. And that being a mass market product, not like a high end.
Yeah, like compared to paddle, for example.
Exactly. So a perfect marriage of that in the demand and the supply side. We also think that there needs to be like a connective tissue between the two, right? Where if you have the demand, but it doesn't reach the supply, there's no use.
Yes.
If the supply cannot reach to the demand, there's no use as well. So we genuinely think like a few things like digital payments, adoption, platforms like Courtsite. We think it makes it much easier for that supply and demand to meet, to be able to attract customers, to be able to announce like, hey, I've got a new court, and every center that comes from Courtsite immediately gets 500,000 worth of users in terms of attention.
Access to 500,000.
Yeah, instead of you spending, as a court owner, spending time like, oh, I need to get my SEO right, I need a really big marketing push and campaign to be able to do that. Of course, there's space for that, but for a lot of the smaller end of the things like single court or even a school, like a school doesn't know anything about social media.
Yeah.
And
they definitely don't even want the hassle of like managing it. Like they just need a platform, a service.
Yeah, exactly. So we think it's interesting if we could replay the whole scenario again and see what would have been like if there wasn't platforms like Courtsite and Pickleball tried to like enter the market. We won't really know, but we think we have a strong guess that we've had a part to play in how the adoption has been as well.
Okay. Yeah. I think it was so necessary. So, maybe people don't say it outright, but like we do appreciate the services that you provide to help with the growth that we see here in Malaysia. Based on Courtsite's data, could you share some metrics or numbers that are interesting for our viewers? And also an important question would be, how sustainable in Malaysia is pickleball growth over the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, let me try to find some interesting metrics. We talked about monthly bookings. We can go into users. We can go into more on the cost of running a center, that sort of thing. I think the interesting metric to talk about is, I guess, the growth itself, the rate of its growing. it's at a steady pace. So not to say that it's stopped growing, but it's at a healthy rate of, for us, around 7 to 10% increase every month, which
Okay.
is obviously at some point it has to end, right? But I think at the moment it's at a very steady pace. In terms of the next 3 to 5 years, I think that's a super interesting question and probably a multi-million-dollar question, right?
It
We
is
all wanna know the
literally.
answer. But we've got enough sort of market share to make some educated guesses, and also a bit more sort of subjective look on the industry. And what we always like to do is like comparisons in the market, right? What would it take for us to stop questioning, like, is pickleball here to stay, right? We want to get past that point, and what would that take? And we try to compare that against badminton. No one's questioning if badminton is going to
Yes.
stay. And I think some of it will have to be, or one of the accelerants to get us closer to that, I think, is making sure that pickleball becomes a mainstream spectator sport, right? Look at badminton, you look at football, you've got the World Cup, we've got Olympics, we've got Thomas Cup. I think if we can get competitions at that level, Olympic pickleball Malaysian champion, right? Imagine that. I think everything else will fall into place, whether that's from the attention of the nation, whether that's going all the way down to primary school, your MSS competition at MSSM, or your inter-school competition, and having a supply and having a national association, a national team, a facility, training facilities, and all your national athletes. I feel like that will be the turning point for nobody will question whether pickleball will stay. So whether it happen in the next 3 to 5 years, who knows? But I think if we can reach that point, I think that the rest will just fall into place.
The rest will fall into place. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for your insight, Aaron. We'll take a short break here, and then we'll jump into a few more questions.
Nice.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thanks.
We're back with AVP, and Aaron, I want to say it's been wonderful that you have been so open, sharing this insight and numbers with our fans, an exclusive to Pickle 361. I want to ask, why did you choose to be so open with us today? How's the market looking?
Yeah, I think the sort to set the scene on like how we think about this is that for us, the main focus is really about helping facilities run more efficiently, right? We are a product and services company, and that's our main focus. If we build the right products, we're solving business problems, we will be here to stay. So us sharing numbers here, we don't see it as a negative, like we don't see it as something to lose by sharing. I think one of the side effects of us sharing, I think, is essentially it's in our interest for the pickleball industry to be healthy, right? And I think for any business to make educated, sound decisions is always a better place than just guessing, right?
Yes.
And with data combined with sort of real world observations combined with your own analysis across the market, I think there's a lot we provide to our existing partner centers, but I think with a platform like yours, like we can reach that to a wider audience as well. And yeah, I think I guess another side effect to that that maybe is a bit more selfish is showing that us as Courtsite, like we are looking at the big picture, we're on the pulse of things, and whatever features we decide to build is the right one for the market based on the data we have, and showing, kind of backing that out by showing the numbers as well.
Okay. And for our fans, like to understand a bit better the market share that Courtsite has, which metric is the most relevant, and where are you all placed?
Yeah, so the way we look at it is number of facilities on our platform. We think this is a better measure than number of users. If you have no facilities, you can have 10 billion users and that won't be any use to us. So number of facilities is the most important. To get real core numbers is probably quite difficult in terms of market share, real market share, because you have facilities that are digitally native, that are online that we can search for, or you have stuff that is just like you have to call or you see an ad on the street and you call a number. So we don't have like very 100% accuracy data, but from what we gather, we are the top in Malaysia in terms of aggregator platform. Meaning that you can book multiple centers. The top at the moment, and we're probably just over or just under double of the next closest competitor.
Okay.
So yeah, we are at 330 facilities at the moment.
330 facilities, 190 which are pickleball.
Yeah, and our closest competitor is probably in the range of 170 to 180 facilities.
Okay. Would you share with us how many active users?
Yeah, so in terms of active users, we have roughly, it differs month to month, but around, I would say 80,000.
80,000, okay.
Monthly active. Our total user base is at 570,000 at the moment, and that's growing every day.
Would you share like monthly transactions that pass through?
I won't give you the exact number.
Sure.
But let's say it's in the region of 8 figures.
Okay, that looks healthy. That sounds healthy.
Yep.
Okay, so in the previous segment, we spoke about kind of where the direction is in like 3 to 5 years. And of course, you don't have a crystal ball and there's many factors involved. So let's think a bit more near term. In the next 12 to 18 months, because you have so much insight and so much data, you have very informed viewpoints. Should investors be excited or cautious? And if they're ready to jump in, perhaps we could talk about the must-haves to help with a successful center and also some pitfalls to avoid. Yes.
Yeah, so I think I guess long story short, I think excited is the right place to be, but it needs to be coupled with the right approach, right? I think understanding what your own needs are, right? What is the sort of returns you're looking for? Is it the top line number you must have hundreds of thousands of revenue, or the number doesn't matter as long as it's profitable? Like that would determine like what sort of options you have. But what we notice from the smaller centers to all the way to the bigger centers is about the common thing that they have, that they are when they are successful, is being very clear about their USP.
Okay.
Whether you have centers that are on more budget end of things, but they make it good enough for people to play and be very at an adequate environment, not going for the high end, and that can perform well. Some that is like completely private and high end, and that can also do well. So I think understanding as an investor, what is your USP you're going to provide to the market, right? And if that's USP that's not been served before, like obviously there's a bit more risk, but potentially more returns, right? That no one else is going to compete with you there. So I think what is a must-have is being very clear about your USP.
Okay.
And that would help you inform like, okay, what sort of facilities should I look at? Should I look at building it from scratch? Should I readapt something that's already there? And then trying to find that perfect marriage of like your USP, the pricing, the costs, and combining all that together. And if it all gels well, then that works. Whether from cheap to expensive doesn't really matter.
See, okay, that's the common trait that helps with success.
Exactly. And I think coming to like pitfalls is essentially the opposite of that, right? I think we've mentioned that Malaysia has been such a good environment for SMEs. Lots of first-time business owners starting their own pickleball courts and stuff like this. I think a lot of them may not have the business acumen to start immediately with the right approach. And I think not spotting your USP and seeing how you differ to your competition is one mistake. But I think the second one that I think happens a lot to first-time owners is, and this doesn't just apply to pickleball courts, I think more generally is trying to focus too much on cost and not on value, right? Similar to USP, but I think this comes in terms of like knowing when to cut costs and where not to cut costs, right? I think
Yes.
certain facilities, for example, they invest a lot of money on just their toilets, right?
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
To some people, they're like, I just need to check a jackbox. I just need to be usable.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no value. Like they don't think about the value, which is the environment. Like, and people like, what's the virality you create? People tell word of mouth. Like all these are value. People share Instagram posts in the sort of vanity mirrors in the toilet. Like that's value that people may not think about. And I think this mistake has been made so many times, whether that's on the facilities themselves or deciding to use tools to help with your operation. So like obviously with Courtsite, we have to charge money to be a sustainable business. And a lot of people see, oh, you're more expensive than your competitors. Like you're, I can save 1-2% in transaction fees, but they don't realize they're leaving like 20-30% on the table in terms of growth, right? So sometimes focusing too much on the cost removes a lot of value that you don't see, which is a common pitfall that we notice.
Yeah, I guess penny wise, pound foolish with that approach.
Yeah.
To worry about the dollars and cents, but essentially the service, the quality of service, and all the products you offer.
Yeah, exactly. And we've seen time and time again for Courtsite facilities that move from competitive platforms or even just like no platform, just doing it themselves to something like Courtsite. Obviously, there's a cost associated to it, but it's not very surprising if a facility comes on with, let's say, 70K revenue per month, and the next month they join Courtsite, or 70K revenue per month in terms of their record revenue.
Okay.
And their first month on Courtsite is 100 plus K. Like,
okay.
It's not uncommon.
And it becomes like the average baseline.
Exactly.
Perhaps,
so,
and that you feel is the 500,000 eyeballs, the traffic that goes through, you will get visibility from that.
Yes, I think that for sure. But I think also simplifying your operations so you can focus on other things as well.
Improving the bottom line and operation costs.
Yeah. The OPEX that you already have, you can repurpose to something more with a better return, right?
Yeah.
Instead of, I don't need a front desk reception. I need a marketing exec that helps me push my social.
And create more content, for example.
Yeah.
I think we saw a boom at a certain period. There was a lack of courts, and then right after that, a big boom. And a lot of online, you hear complaints about some of the worst ones. Often people would say, oh, it's built by people who don't play pickleball, who don't get it. Maybe the surface, the spacing, the facilities wasn't an issue. I wonder, I'm so curious about the chart of when you saw a bit more of a boom and maybe a dip in closures.
Yeah, so for the data we have, closures isn't a significant part of our data.
Yeah.
So I think the way we look at it is more on the total number of centers on the platform. So from there, the acceleration probably started mid 2024.
Okay.
And the tapering started to flatten a bit more earlier this year, maybe March, April, in terms of supply. But we're not seeing in terms of number of bookings. So I think we don't see closures that often. And I think you pointed out the right thing, which is like a lot of the closures came from either it was never going to work rather than a market dynamic point of view. And that's what I meant by when we talk about USPs, right? What are you offering? Some people may play pickleball as more of a social thing, and the spacing is not as important, and there is space for that.
Yeah, there is a target market that is not particular about the surface or the spacing.
But there's certain things that are just non-negotiable that people may not think about as either
Sometimes from a safety aspect as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was what I was going to get at. Like we've had one. We very rarely turn away centers, but there were certain centers where we went just like, I'm sorry, can't be on court side because you have a glass window at the back of a court. Like,
Yeah.
we don't want people falling through glass.
Yeah.
Right?
It's just an accident waiting to happen.
Exactly.
You don't want to be liable.
Yeah. So, I think it kind of comes back to like how we think of the next 12 to 18 months is that I think we'll see more of the centers that don't have a strong USP, don't have good quality courts to start to fade away, and in place come the good ones. That's why I think investors should be excited. Think about your USP, jump in to raise the quality of the whole industry and not let the ones that are not doing it right. Like, stay in the market in some ways.
Yes. The cream rises to the top.
Exactly.
So we deserve the best. We
Yes.
deserve the best
Yeah.
facilities. Okay. We're done with that segment. So we're going to jump into the final segment, which is just kind of quick questions. You can answer, don't think so much, just answer. Doesn't have to be one word, it can be like a sentence.
Yeah.
And we'll just go from there, okay? Favorite pickleball venue in Malaysia?
All
Tough.
courtside venues.
Oh, wow. Well trained.
I
Okay.
think there's so many to choose from. There's so creative ones. I think the one that speaks most to me personally,
Yeah.
is base. Like, I think what base are doing, so good. Like, definitely coming from a player's point of view, like the spacing is thought out so well in terms of the layout, giving different options to people. But also, I like what they're doing with Grace, the pickleball player.
Yeah.
Sponsoring.
He is. He's thinking differently, thinking for that. I feel a big untapped market of the intermediate and everyday player, the
Yes,
aspirational player.
Exactly. And the story behind it is amazing. Plus, I'm a product person, and I see how Ian from Base has approached building the courts a very product minded way of like, here's where we can like cut back, or it doesn't have to be now. We can do it later. Getting things ready, experimenting, even with his placing of like benches and tables. Like, if you notice, like he does play around
He's
with
always
that.
tinkering.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like I think it's very like-minded to me, and I kind of relate to that. So that's
Okay.
the one that speaks to me the most personally.
Okay. Personally. Okay. Do you prefer singles or doubles?
Doubles, I'm not fit enough for singles.
Pedal of choice?
I don't play enough to probably even tell the difference. So I'll go from the story of businesses point of view, and I love what ProTech are doing.
Okay. Most surprising courtside stat you've seen?
Still comes to number of facilities, seeing pickleball become the majority of facilities on our platform.
Okay. One thing that managing courts that drives you nuts?
The answer will be nothing, because Courtsite makes it so easy to run courts. But I will talk about it as a consumer, right? My biggest pet peeve is going to a facility that doesn't have Courtsite's lighting automation.
Yeah.
Where you reach there at 7 o'clock, it's your time. You see the guys playing the point, and then you're like, oh, maybe they'll finish the next 30 seconds, a minute.
It's an
They
awkward
don't.
situation. Yeah.
You go to the front counter, hey, can you chase them off? The guy slowly walks. He also a bit reluctant to want to do it. He stand there, wait them take the point. At the end of it, it's been
Could have been avoided.
5-7 minutes wasted, and
Not fair to the next paying customer.
not fun to start off your session that way. So yeah.
Okay. Best advice for a first-time pickleball investor or court owner?
USP is probably the 3 letters I keep repeating.
Okay.
Understanding what is the thing you can provide to people. Don't just think of it as a financial play of like, I put X dollars in, I get Y dollars out. It's really about the experience and what you're providing as value.
Okay. Untapped market or area that you see?
I think it's repurposing existing assets or places, right? That's probably one of the most underrated ways to start a pickleball center. And it doesn't have to be that way for you all the time, or like forever. Like, we're starting to see companies start to come up with multiple venues. So I think it's always good from a product point of view, start with something simple, understand the market, then grow from there and see what you want to do next.
All right. A dream courtside feature you'd love to build next?
I would rather show it when it's ready.
We look forward to seeing that.
So maybe next time I come back, we can talk about
Okay.
it.
May we ask, is there some great features already in the works?
Maybe I'll talk about some of the smaller ones that
Okay.
you won't notice immediately.
Yeah.
We are very keen on the attention to detail. Like we care about the small things.
Yeah.
So one thing that's still on my mind is how to get nice social previews when you share a profile. So imagine Thomas Pickleball Club, like you share the courtside venue to your friend.
Yeah.
Right now it shows you the name. Like we recently implemented this, but we still haven't found a nice way to show images on platforms like WhatsApp, Instagram, because the pictures we have are a bit too large and like we like high quality images. So WhatsApp
Optimize
doesn't support
it
that.
yeah.
So we need to look at how we can optimize that further.
Okay. Final question. Courtside in one word.
Easy.
Easy. Okay. We're here. We've heard today how Malaysia's pickleball scene is exploding with numbers and insight to back that up. We really, on behalf of all the business owners and Malaysians here, we want to thank you for being so candid, so open and sharing with us. We want to thank you, Aaron, and obviously Courtsite and everything you've built in helping facilitate this growth. Thank you so much, Aaron.
No, thank you so much.
And we hope to do this again, maybe 6 months or 12 months from now. And the numbers, we are very curious to see the numbers.
Me too.
Okay.
Nice.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you.
Today.